Hello, my name's Amanda Nylund, and this is my Capstone project implementation and reflection presentation. So, my personal SEL practices. I chose to try out two personal SEL practices during these past 3 weeks, and the first practice I implemented was a type of mindfulness. I chose the mindfulness practice called centering because I knew I wanted to give myself a few minutes at the beginning and end of each day just to be present with myself. With this centering practice, I took 3 to 5 minutes of my day before work and before bed to stand with my feet shoulder width apart and intentionally zone in on a point in my abdomen. During this practice, I am feeling my gravity become centered and my connection to earth become stronger. I set a goal for myself to complete this specific practice every morning before the first bell rang and every evening before I went to sleep. I was able to complete this practice every morning easily. It allowed me to get my mind ready for the day ahead. When it came to doing this practice at night, I found it a lot more difficult to complete because I do not have the same alone time as I do in the morning. However, my experience for this practice was overall good. It allowed me to set intentional time for myself to get ready for the day, and it helped me feel present. The second practice I chose for myself was to take some time every night to do yoga. I chose this because I wanted to promote a healthier way of living. I was unable to keep up with this practice every night, but I intentionally did 10 to 15 minutes every other night and was able to sleep so much better after doing yoga. What I learned about myself is that it is more difficult to set intentional time for myself when I am at home with my family rather than when I'm at work getting set up for the day. I realize now that I need to set more time for myself after I put my own children to bed. These practices are something that have improved my mental well-being, so I will definitely keep doing both each day. And then I found this quote from, he's the author of, I think, the Yoga Sutras, and it just really helped me get into the mood or get into the environment when I was getting ready for yoga. Yoga is the practice of quieting your mind. So, my class-wide SEL reflection. So, for my class-wide SEL practices, I decided to focus on two that I felt would help strengthen the community in my classroom. First, I chose to implement community circles with one of my class periods. This class provided specific feedback on my SEL assets inventory that they wanted more voice and choice when working with other classmates in small groups. They also wanted to focus on creating a community of respect for one another in the classroom. The second practice I implemented with all of my class periods was an activity called We Are in This Together. This is where students are provided with a sentence starter to help them offer words of gratitude or encouragement to another classmate. I thought this activity would really help our classes build a stronger community when we are uplifting one another. So community circles is what I implemented with my third period class, and I successfully implemented this practice every other day with them. Some things that went well were my class really looked forward to this time we spent intentionally building classroom community, and we really got to know each other on a deeper level. Some challenges that I experienced were I had to be more firm with our community circle norms than I expected. I had a couple boys who were not respecting the talking piece and were not taking this time seriously. I had to pause the speaker to remind the circle of our norms that we created together. So before we got started on our community circles, I offered 4 community circle norms to introduce to my class. After spending some time talking about our purpose of these, the class created 3 other community circle norms to help each other have the freedom of choice or voice, as well as promote the mutual respect amongst everyone in the class. I took their feedback and added 3 additional norms to our list, so we ended up with a total of 7 reasonable norms for our community circles. And you can see the 7 norms in the screenshot on the slide. I had these norms and our questions for the day posted so students were able to remind themselves of the appropriate behaviors and of the questions we were answering. After observing the class during this time, I had to use continuous improvement mindset to ensure that each student was being respectful and listening empathetically to one another. One major change I had to make One major change that I had to make was having students sit out of the circle if they were not able to sit and listen respectfully and empathetically. Once my students knew I was taking this practice seriously, they were all more willing to open up and show that respect. Although we have really just started getting into this specific practice, I did notice that my students were more willing to open up and be themselves during our circle time. Also, the mutual respect is growing amongst each other in this class period. This time at the beginning of the period is something that my students look forward to. They come into class each day and say, "Are we doing our community circle?" So with that, I will definitely be continuing this practice throughout the remainder of the school year. I hope the more we do this, more of my quiet students will choose to speak rather than pass, but I will never require them to speak. What I learned about myself as a practitioner is that I can implement something like this with my class. I was worried that I wouldn't have to correct I was worried I wouldn't have the correct patience or tone to create something so zen-like, but I was able to do it, and now it is something I look forward to doing as well. The second class-wide practice I chose to implement was an activity called "We're in This Together." This activity asked students to write words of encouragement or gratitude to someone else in the class. I did tweak this activity a little bit to fit the needs of my classroom. What I chose to do instead was to have students either shout out another student or shout out themselves. They were asked to write down something that they are proud of, or words of encouragement to a classmate, or and something that they are proud of another student for. We spent some intentional time in class writing some of these, and I also offered the cards to be out on a table in front of the bulletin board for them to create a shout out whenever they feel it necessary. What went well with this activity was most of the cards that were written were well thought out and kind. I did not receive as many shout-outs as I expected, but that may be due to implementing this practice in such a short amount of time. What was challenging was that some students did not take this as seriously as I had hoped, but a majority of them did. I did not make any shifts to this practice other than the initial shift. However, when I see students reading the few cards that are posted on a bulletin board in my classroom now, I see some of them smile and feel proud. This activity is something I will continue to implement throughout the school year, and I'm hoping with more time there will be more shout outs to each other and more students will feel proud and accomplished of all they've done. My overall reflection. Some new SEL understandings that I have gained are that SEL activities do not take very long to do. Students enjoy them, and they also strengthen the community within the classroom. The benefits of intentionally focusing on personal and class-wide practices together are that there is improvement in mood amongst myself and my students. I am able to notice that I am becoming more excited to see my students, and they are excited to complete our community circle or any other SEL activity that I have planned. This also helps me to strengthen my own teaching philosophy where I want my students to come to class excited and ready to learn. My personal practices definitely influenced my class-wide practices because I was not as anxious or worried about how it might fail. I was more relaxed and understanding of everyone's perspective. This class really helped me grow as an educator and strengthen what I already knew about SEL. I am now more open to implementing new practices that I may have been too nervous to implement before because of how it will turn out, or it may turn out as a disaster. After taking this course, I have the understanding and confidence knowing that it's okay to take a step back, focus on my well being, and then come relax to the next activity planned. What I would like to do next is try out some different type of SEL practices with my other classes. I would also like to promote specific, quick, and easy SEL practices with my fellow educators at my school site. I appreciate everything I have learned in this course, and I hope to continue to grow in my SEL journey. So I want to thank you, Mina, and UC Berkeley for everything that you have done during this course. I want to close my presentation with a little quote that I felt when I read it. I felt in my heart. Self-compassion is simply giving the same kindness to ourselves that we would give to others. And that's something I have to remind myself of most of the days. Again, thank you, and I will see you on Thursday.